All right, it looks like we are live here, coming to you live on StreamYard, on LinkedIn Live. Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to see everyone. I'm going to take a drink out of the Stanley mug. And here we go. Welcome to the State of the Industry, sponsored by Webinar Wednesdays, MFI, Realtor.com, and MRI. My name is Justin Jones. I will be your host today, pronouns he, him, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Realtor.com Rentals, focused on multifamily. We have some great information coming to you today. We are going to look at 2024. 2023 was a heck of a year, but we survived. We're here. We're breathing. We have a ton of energy to bring into the new year to make sure that we all hit our leasing, personal, and professional goals. So I have a bunch of notes here because I'm a note taker, and we're going to make sure we get everything done right. This is going to be the most perfect webinar you've ever seen. So let's do some housekeeping really quick. First of all, everyone can see the chat. We love a live chat here on these webinars. Plus, all of y'all know each other. So please go into chat, say hello to friends, make comments during the webinar. We love seeing that people are engaged. For instance, Sandra just said, thank you for making this happen. Sandra, you made this happen because you're here. Because everyone here has an invested interest in making the most of the multifamily and rental real estate industry in 2024. Also, that brings up another great point, questions. You're going to get a lot of data and a lot of insights coming from these thought leaders and our vendor providers throughout this webinar. So please write your questions in real time there in the chat, because you never know if someone else has that questions. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. Now, Felicia Norman is there moderating this chat. She's going to gather all these questions because at the end of the webinar, we are going to have a live Q&A utilizing these questions. Now, if time permits, we all know that the 6 speakers we have are all big talkers. So if for some reason we don't get to the Q&A at the end, we will take these questions, we'll distribute them to the speakers, and hey, here's a great plug. You'll get the answer if you subscribe to Webinar Wednesdays, which is brought to you by Multifamily Insiders, which I'm sure I've seen all of you on the Facebook group. We've all put memes in there. We've all laughed. We've cried. We've commiserated. But I think that's what's great about being a member of the Multifamily Insiders and Share Space community, because y'all, we're all in this together, just like they said in Disney's High School Musical. So one more last thing. Okay, no slides today. Ooh, this is really fun. So no one can be bored today. No slides. You're going to see a bunch of beautiful, very attractive floating heads. And these floating heads are going to be giving you data, numbers, insights. So I want to see everyone here, pen and paper, take notes. Write these things down, because these actionable insights are going to be something so valuable you can bring to your teams today. And that's what's so great about going to these Webinar Wednesdays, is that these insights are something you can do. And at the end of the webinar, we will talk about just taking the one step, doing the one thing. Now, let's get the show on the road. Am I speaking fast enough? Go into comments, make sure I know. Hi, Will Gonzalez. Welcome to the team. So let's go into part one. So part one is one of my favorite parts. We get to bring to the stage 2 of your favorite vendors, one of whom I work for, but I love both of them, MRI and Realtor.com Rentals. The great thing about working with cool vendors is that A, we love talking to you because we're always happy to take a meeting, and B, gosh, do we have data. We sit in data. We love data. And with companies like MRI and Realtor.com, who've been around since the onset of ILS, since the onset of PropTech, we have data that spans years. So we're able to see trends and we're able to forecast. So without further ado, I'd like to bring to the stage MRI and Brian Zrimsek and Realtor.com's amazing Liv Gabrielson. Hi, Brian.
Hey there, Justin.
And applaud to me. I did say your last name correct.
You did. Thank you.
That's the end of the webinar. We all learned how to say Zrimsek today, and now we're all going to be successful family marketers. And Liv Gabrielson, welcome.
Hello, Justin. Hi, Brian.
Hey there.
Y'all, these two are amazing industry leaders. You've seen them. But the great thing, too, they both come from working on the vendor side and the supplier side from, respectively, Bainbridge and Company and Irvine Company. So this is amazing to have your insights. I want to start with Brian. Brian, I want you to walk us through what you've seen in your data when it comes to, let's say, like pricing. You hear all this stuff in the news about the sky is falling. Brian, what's the reality? What are we looking at?
Yeah. So clearly pricing has taken a bit of a turn, but it's not to be unexpected. We have a couple years of recent history that are abnormal. So if I ask you a couple quick questions, which year, if you took the price for an average 12-month unit, 12-month term, and that price grew by 7% to the in-year peak and then fell off by 2% to the end of the year, and you got a little over a 4% rent growth for the year. Was that 2023 or was that 2019? The answer is it's both. It's both. So I say that because the couple years in between there were kind of abnormal. So 2019 is the last year of the before time, if you will. And it's interesting how close the patterns are. So I feel like as we kind of close out 23, it's very much like things were. And, there's no 20% rent growth coming. There are some headwinds. We've heard about all the headwinds. We know this is a record year for deliveries, 24 and 25. That's going to have impact in certain markets. In other markets, maybe not so much. And then there are the big unknowns, right? Get your crystal balls for 2024, because there are some things in 2024 that you really can't understand or know. Interest rates and or the soft landing / recession, geopolitical issues in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. It's an election year. I was on the triple-demic. I was on a webinar earlier today, and my co-host, she's just recovering from COVID. I went through it around Christmas time. So there's stuff in the soup, right, for 24.
Yeah.
But from a pricing perspective, yes, we're down a little bit right now, but I expect that to be at the seasonal norm. The other thing I'll say on pricing, because we don't talk about renewals enough. I have 2 stats for you on renewals. Before the pandemic, in 2019, renewal rates were about 4% higher than new lease rates. And today in 23, they averaged about 2.5% less. So as a industry, we prioritized keeping residents versus turning residents, right? Because we kept those prices more favorable. And it showed up in the numbers. In 2019, the renewal rate was 61%. So 61% of people said, I'm going to renew. And last year was 69%. That's pretty substantial. And there's a lot of cost savings in there, as we all know, right? If we get people to stay, we don't have to turn units. We don't have to have as much marketing spend, right? We can all, spend more time focused on those people we want to have those relationships with. So, so some good data. 24's got some unknowns, but, let's leverage the data from the past to, make our best estimate of what's going to happen.
That's amazing. And, Brian, we've talked about this. You've even mentioned to me the cyclical nature of the industry we're in. And so like Brian says, y'all, work with partners like Brian. Get the data that they have from the past and let it make your forecasting. But what Brian even said, which I think is even better, let's not panic. Let's learn what we can, own what we can, and let the soup be the soup, right? It's fantastic. Yeah. I want to move on really quickly to Liv Gabrielson. So Brian's talked to us about new inventory coming on, right? About rent stabilization and prices. So we know there are things we can control. We know we're having a year that somewhat resembled, let's say, 2019 before the odd times of the pandemic. So what can we do when it comes to talking to these renters? Liv, tell me more about these renters. Have they changed? What do they want? Where are they? How can we make this, if, for lack of a better expression, let's say, the year of the renter?
Sure. I do want to echo Brian's sentiment. If I could just add one more data point, the information that we have and the data we have shares that sentiment. We saw that out of the 47 out of the top 50 largest metro area, renting is still more affordable than home buying. And so while some markets will probably experience a, colder cool down, nationwide, we don't believe it's going to be as severe as some of the information we're hearing out there. So in regards to who are renters, millennials continue to dominate the largest rental demographic, and Gen Z is actually really close right behind them. Our data found that millennials are kind of aging past that traditional age to purchase a home. And so millennials are choosing to rent. They love the flexibility. When you look at the lifestyle preferences of millennials, they're open to moving, relocating, they're spending their money on travel and experiences. And the majority of them are not really bought into the American dream of purchasing a home. So in addition to that, obviously some economic headwinds and housing affordability, millennials and Gen Zers will probably stay as renters longer than we've seen in the past. And when we're looking to what renters want, aside from affordability, because it is the number one factor when choosing an apartment, everything else revolves around lifestyle. We continue to see pets. They love their pets. They look for pet-friendly communities, and they look for pet-friendly environments and atmosphere. renters are now 100% living in a digital world. So being connected is just part of their life. They're streaming TV. I don't think it's news to anybody that they are active on social platforms. But those social platforms is now just not to stay in touch with friends, but they're using it to keep up with current events, entertainment, and also to research and purchase goods and services. So not only information on those products and services, but also reviews and consumer feedback. That piece continues to grow. So it's important for us to take note of that and adjust, marketing strategies accordingly. Some other stuff that really hasn't changed that much is, they're social. They like to hang out with friends. They love experiences, that instant gratification. But what I did want to share is some of the things that they really don't like. So millennials have the highest negative sentiment when it comes to renting. And not the fact that I have to rent, but the rental process. And so some of the frustrations are, I submit leads, but I don't get a response. And so when you look at people that are so connected, and DM and text messaging is such a part of how they communicate and it's instant, the lack of response is really a negative factor for them. They are frustrated with the lack of technology, the ability to lease digitally because they're accustomed to purchasing everything online. And they also feel very frustrated with lack of information. A reoccurring sentiment that we heard was they feel like they waste their time contacting communities, one, because they don't answer, or two, when they go through the application process, if they don't qualify, they feel that the requirements or restrictions aren't transparent. So transparency is, a big factor here. And then I think lastly, they feel like the only way to get an apartment is to actually show up and tour. But then they feel like, the only way for me to, show up and tour is to call, and then they're not answering my calls. And so I think scheduling a tour functionality is, that's not as widespread as maybe as it should. And so for us, I think our biggest takeaway from the data is, addressing renter frustration can really give you a competitive advantage. And in my opinion, having a strong marketing and leasing tech stack is no longer nice to have. It's a must have to stay competitive because it's now just consumer expectation for your largest rental demographic.
Wow. And both these folks, like I said, have been on both sides of the industry, so they know. You know what's interesting too? Even in chat, let me know, did any of this, and I say this kind of jokingly, surprise you or shock you? Did Brian or Liv say something that maybe we haven't heard before? And I think that's key. And I think that you're going to learn more about this as we jump to our industry leaders in a second, who are going to address leasing, overcoming objections, resident retention for Brian, employee engagement retention, and AI and tech for Liz. I think we're seeing that this is the year we can perfect skills in order to achieve what Liv has prescribed for us and to address the need for inventory coming on, which is going to lead to competition, and rents fluctuating a bit, even going a bit down, to make sure that we're making the most of the renters that come down our pipeline who, as we all know, have the big word affordability on their brains and are being forced to continue to rent longer than they might have, let's say, a decade ago. We have 2 minutes left of this section. So Brian, Liv, any last words you want to share with the team? Any big calls to action for either of your crew?
Well, something I forgot to mention, we talked about it when we did our rehearsal, that affordability, it's in the news. It was in the news before the pandemic, it went away, and it came back. And so I think we all have to just realize as operators that pricing, the new supply, is the answer to affordability. That's what we say as an industry. We got to build more units. We're 6 million units behind. And then we build more units and prices come down in the market, and we lament the fact that prices came down in the market. So it's both, right? It's good news for the industry. It's good news for residents. It's going to be short-term headwinds for people operating this market. But it's challenging for me to hear us say we need more supply and then complain when we have more supply, because in that market, it kind of took my pricing down a little bit. That's supply and demand. That's the economics of our industry. So yeah, that's my last comment.
Coming from the guy. Liv, any last words?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like one thing that I feel never goes out of style is customer service. It's always on trend. And at the end of the day, when you look at, from a community standpoint, at your competition, for the most part, you have, similar asset types, similar pricing. What differentiates you from others is how you make people feel and the customer experience. So never lose the customer service despite the implementation of new technology and AI. How you make people feel is really at the end what wins.
Amazing.
Always popular, always on trend.
Let's give a round of applause and a big thanks to Brian and Liv for joining us. Again, they're with MRI and Realtor.com Rentals, respectively. Both groups actually have data, forecasts that are coming to the pipeline. I think the link can be shared in chat by Felicia, but also expect that MFI will make sure that everyone here can get access to both MRI and RDC's data as it comes into fruition. Thank you so much. Y'all stay around for the Q&A later, but we're going to go ahead and go into the second section where you're going to get to meet some incredible industry leaders. So I want to take a moment to breathe, because that was a lot, y'all. Hope you're having fun. Hope you're staying live in chat and commenting. But let's move on to the second session where we're going to focus on some of the key leaders you're going to see throughout Webinar Wednesdays, which is a learning series that's brought to you by Multifamily Insiders and proudly sponsored by MRI and Realtor.com. So we're going to get to meet Lisa Trozine, Tony Blake, Joelis Barandico Rodriguez, Drew Hudson, and Christy Fickert. These are people you get to meet and have sessions with almost twice a month, plus one extra session for maintenance each quarter as a part of the Webinar Wednesdays learning series. The big call to action I have to anyone here who's never done one, sign up. Try one. Or if you've tried one and you love it, subscribe. You'll get to see me sometimes. You get to see our friends here who are about to meet. And they're only going to give you like a 6-minute snippet of their session. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more, this is the opportunity to get teased like an amuse-bouche, like a buffet of learning before we sink into the deep meal, which you get as a part of Webinar Wednesdays through Multifamily Insiders. So without further ado, let's bring on one of my dear friends, someone I'm actually co-hosting with for 60 Ideas in 60 Minutes, coming up on March 6th. Ladies and germs, please welcome to the stage the Lisa Trozine of the Apartment All-Stars, and also like one of my BFF. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
We're doing so well. So, Lisa,
Has my 6 minutes started already?
I'll let you know. I'll surprise you, or I'll just like take like the little hook I have and just yank you off camera. I'll be like, sorry, Felicia, can we cut Lisa? But no, Lisa, you are so renowned. You've done your webinar, 60 Minutes at Apartmentalize, and then you did another new one, 60 Ideas in 60 Minutes, as a part of Webinar Wednesdays last year, and then you're bringing it back this year. Are we getting new ideas is the big question I have for you.
Yes, you're getting new ideas, but there's a little caveat. What I'm going to talk about today really isn't like the 60 Ideas in 60 Minutes that you and I did last year. Last year, we just did rapid fire, quick ideas to get leases, to create marketing. I'm going to look more at trends today.
Well, that's what we're here for. So talk to me about trends. It's so funny. Liv just said really interesting keywords like customer service never goes out of style. And then we heard some like affordability, lifestyle, digital connectivity. Lisa, from your perspective, especially when thinking about renters, what's a keyword? What's a trend? What should we be focused on in 2024?
Okay, I like to have props in my webinar. So this chicken lets people know when there's something that I don't like. And one of the things that I don't like right now is that we go blah, 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 blah about customer service and customer experience. But you know what? When we're in concessions, and we'll give a month free to the new guy walking in, but the resident who has a lease renewal coming up, who says, can I get the same rate? We say, no. Mm-hmm. You got your concession when you moved in, or no, you can't have that. So you say, so if I move out and I move back in, I'll get the concession. Yes, that's baloney. Okay, that's absolutely ridiculous. Take care of the people that we have. If we are going to be, and I took a bunch of notes when these guys were talking, if we're concerned with how people feel, why would we give the people who live with us the worst possible deal? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Even AT&T finally realized that. You'll always get our best deal. Our residents should always get our best deal. If we're going to make this the year of the renter, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion with some people, but come on, guys. We're charging a key fob activation fee for a fob that we don't need to activate? Good Lord. Transparency is a key word here. Trust is a key word here. Wow. How can you trust a company that charges you money for something that they don't really do? Seriously. It's just absolutely ridiculous. No way.
Trust and
Come on.
transparency.
When we look at these fees, I was talking to a leasing person. I said, "What's the toughest part of your job?" And he said, "The fees." So we chatted a little bit. But I talked to another leasing person in the same market, and I said, "What's the hardest part of your job?" "The fees." I'll have a renter call me up. They'll say, "Hey, I see that the rent is $1,100. I'm so excited." They come out, they look around, and then when they say, "I'll take it," and you sit down with them, it goes from $1,100 to $1,800. Ouch. And we don't tell them what's included in that extra $700 or whatever. We got to stop this. We have to be more transparent. Not only is it bad business, the government's looking at us now, as you've seen. In states like Minnesota, I'm not sure if it's the whole state of Minnesota or just Minneapolis, they just had legislation passed about transparency. Guys, you've all seen the Ticketmaster mess. You go to buy a ticket for Taylor Swift. If you can get in and you buy the ticket, it's $1,000. And then when you go to check out, it's $1,750 because of all the fees.
Yeah.
If we're going to charge fees, the fees have to have a value, and we have to be able to explain the fees. I still can't believe that we are charging people $2.50 a month to prep their utility bill. That is something that completely blows my mind. I cannot believe that. And all the leasing people out there who say they have to tell the incoming resident, "Yes, and we have door-to-door trash service. And in your fees, that's $35 a month." And you know what the typical response is? "I'll just carry my trash out to the dumpster myself. I don't want somebody picking it up at my door." Onus is on you, supplier, to help these leasing people sell these fees that you're charging, like door-to-door trash service. Onus is on managers. If you're going to be charging these $35 fob activation fees, you got to teach your team how to sell them. And I'm sorry, I just saw a $10 per month fee for a fish. A fish. Why would you charge $10 a month pet rent for a fish? I mean,
For a fish.
Haven't we gotten enough money lately? We got to look at these fees, guys. Okay.
I think that's great.
And if you're saying, "I'm going to charge the fees," okay, good for you. But look at the fees. Make sure the fees have value. Kate Good, one of my dearest friends in the world, one of my business partners, is a developer now. Her fees are value added fees because so much is included in the fee. She's a leader in the field. She's continuing to be a leader in the field. And she teaches her team how to sell the fees. You got to do that. You got to do that. When we look at pricing, that was another keyword that came up when our two great sponsor partners were talking. Pricing has to be transparent. People have to trust. Are they going to trust you when you say, "Oh, the rent is $1,100, but it's really $1,800? No, you got to explain where all that money is coming. I remember one time Mike Whaling, 30 Lines, talked about the fact that maybe we're going to have to get to a situation where, like the Disney bracelets, where, you know what, you swipe your Disney bracelet because you opted into the amenities. So you're paying $100 more a month to use all the amenities. But if you're not an amenity user, you pay less. I don't know. Something's got to happen, guys. We've got to be more transparent. We've got to look at our policy about concessions. Am I done?
No, you're close, but I'm wrapping it up. This is great. Policy about concessions and
to our renters. If we are going to make it the year of the renter, I don't know if you guys realize this, but 82% of our renters said they don't like the lack of transparency in the fees. So transparency, guys, transparency, trust, customer service. It's all got to work. We got to look at the way we're doing business. We're in concessions. We just came out of a couple of years of raising rents really high. So come on, let's figure out how to make it the year of the renter. We'll still make money. We'll get people through the door. Kate's doing it. It's a possible thing. Teach your team how to sell these things. Look at how you're bundling. Be reasonable. Be fair.
And stay tuned for more coming from Lisa Trozine. Lisa, that was almost 60 ideas in 60 seconds. Even that was like 60 ideas in 6 minutes. Y'all make sure to tune in March 6th. There'll be more of that. But if I can repeat this: trust, transparency. Transparency, it's a key word. Everyone write that down. And thank you, Lisa, for joining us on this program. We're going to jump.
Offer every type of tour you can because your residents, your prospects want to be able to tour on their terms.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Lisa Trozine. Oh, it's amazing, Felicia. Look at the energy. This is what you can expect from Webinar Wednesdays. And I'll be hosting that with Lisa. But I want to get to Tony Blake next. Now, Tony Blake is going to be talking about overcoming objections. You're going to see Tony Blake on April 17th on Celebrate the Buying Signals, turning objections into leases. Please welcome to the program, Tony Blake. And Tony, what an amazing lead up you have here. Hi.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm better now that you're here. I'm better now that we've heard from Lisa, from Liv, from Brian. And are you hearing trends here?
Oh, yeah. And I'm all about it. In fact, I had the most fun post recently on LinkedIn where I found an old album from brainstorming with all the old pictures. And I developed a habit during brainstorming of every year looking at all the annual reports, looking at the economics, looking at the socioeconomics, and then being responsible when you are giving advice to multi-million-dollar real estate companies that you're on trend. And so thank you, Tammy Sirik, for brainstorming and for starting that habit. And I'm fresh from all of my research on the 2024 trends.
Get into it. Let's go, girl. Let's go.
Awesome. Okay, so check on inflation. It's got back to a normal rate. Check on job growth. And I'm going to piggyback on Brian's talk about the expansion, that we're still in expansion. It's truly unbelievable how successful all the lease ups are doing out there. And this is a peak year. In 2024, we've got 500,000 units being delivered. And then over the next 5 years, we have 300,000 or more. And when it comes to single family, I'm seeing a lot about the fact that the feds are going to begin to lower the rates mid-year. And so single family is going to get about a 5% bump. And I saw data that said that 93% of renters, if they came down, would buy. Now, we're really talking about a slow come down, and it should be down to 3% by 2026, according to multiple sources that I saw. And I want this to be heard. Hello, are you listening? Growth, rent growth, not just concessions. And so we are still in a rent growth. Now, we don't have 18 and 20, and wasn't that a happy day? But we do still have 2 to 3% rent growth projected for this year. And yet I see all these people jumping into the concession market and starting to offer concessions. And I'm going to be talking about that. But I really want to speak to the social bias. And honestly, we kind of just saw it. When Lisa was talking about all the fees and everything, the conversation almost went negative multifamily, where we were almost hitting ourselves about it. And I want you to understand, I want you to do a couple of things. I want you to go search apartment managers give back. And are you going to find stories of all the amazing things that we've done in our industry in giving back? No. Here's what you're going to find. Comments about the deposit being returned. I couldn't even believe the lack of story online about our industry in a positive perspective. I found a Princeton study that said that high rents lead to early death. Oh my God, I am not kidding. There's all this social bias out here. And here's my question. Are you ready, Justin?
Yes, ma'am.
Have our teams drank the Kool-Aid?
Gosh.
Do our teams believe the rents are too high? 82% of the renters say it's too high. Do our teams believe that? And let me tell you a quick story. I'm doing the Gray Star Leasing Rally last year, and we get to overcoming objections. And I say to them, what are the negative comments you're hearing? And they start to pour it out, like you saw kind of the piggyback in Lisa's conversation. And this one team says, well, we have a 1 bedroom that doesn't have a washer and dryer inside the apartment. And I was like, and I said to her, I said, do you have people living in that apartment in your property? Uh-huh. A lot of them. I said, every door is a testament that it's okay, that they're going to be okay, that there's a closed care center and they can do their laundry at one time and not pay electric bills. I spent just like maybe 60 seconds on reasons why. Guess what, Justin? The next day, that property rented 5 apartments.
There you go.
Have we gone negative? Have we allowed all the negative? I get a thing from a property in Houston some years ago, and they've got a 3rd floor, 2-bedroom with a vaulted ceiling in August. They had 7 vacant. They had 3 more coming online, and they were panicked. So they were going to give televisions away to this 3rd floor apartment. And it's kind of like, I'm so sorry that you have to climb the stairs and it's hot and it's August and you have to move in upstairs. But if you will, we'll give you a television. When you take a floor plan and you put something like that on it, you're making me figure out what's wrong with it. I had a conversation with the team. We decided to create this thing, which is now, a lot of people have heard it, my Heart Smart Apartment Life. And we went with the American Heart Association that recommends you take the stairs. And I mean, if the American Heart Association recommends you take the stairs, couldn't we say that this apartment is recommended by the American Heart Association?
I love that.
Count the steps and say you're moving into a Heart Smart Life. And then we literally, when they moved in, we signed them up for the Heart Your Life newsletter at the American Heart Association. The manager said residents would come in and go, I got my newsletter from the American Heart Association. Listen, it's positioning, value positioning. And I believe it is so important that our front line does not drink the Kool-Aid in the negative language that comes. They've got to know how. Here's really one thing I want to stick.
Here we go.
People are conceding their rent in a market that has 2 to 3% growth. And we can't afford it. Our properties have been reevaluated at higher taxes. I don't even have time to talk about our insurance costs. One property told me $40,000 increase in year to year. We can't afford this right now. And it's rent growth. So why are you giving it away without value positioning? I wrote a seminar last year called Value Stacking. And I talked about how we are fabulous, but we're not telling our story. So I don't think it's time to concede our rent. And if an ILS has a listing place where it says special, here's what I want you to write. I want you to say your team's bio. Together combined, we have 17 years of property management experience and we're ready to take care of you. I want you to feature what is special about your property, not concede your rent. And okay, last thing, I don't know how many seconds I've got left. Do not concede your story. This is one, Justin.
Yes.
The teams on site are believing the objections and not being able to come back. If a person chooses you because of a deal, they will not be loyal. They will leave you for the next big deal. If you write a love story about what they're going to love about their life, love about their apartment, all the passion our people feel, and you put that into the story and they choose it because of love, they stay longer, they're more loyal to you, they're better residents. And in my program, I am going to show you, since most of the decision making is taken online, how to sneak little human moments online, how to overcome objections in your social media, in QRs that go to videos, even if they're self-guided tours. How can we show up with our passion, show up with our love for our property? Tune in, baby.
Tune in, show up for Tony Blake. Tune in, boom, boom. Tony, thank you. That's positivity. That's another word I'm dragging from this. We have affordability, we have lifestyle, positivity. Like, we're all of this world, right? But we need to make sure we know that the renters, like what Liv said, are having a negative experience. Let's not propagate that on our side when we're giving them that story. But I don't want to give away too much. Y'all, this is Tony Blake. Thank you so much for joining us, Tony. You're going to see here April 17th. Tony, much love. We'll see you. Next up, we have the amazing Joelis Barandica Rodriguez. And Joelis is going to talk to us about resident retention. Are you seeing a theme here, y'all? Are we all breathing together? Are we all enjoying this energy? Here we go. Let's bring onto the program Joelis Barandica from Con-Am Management Corporation. She's the Regional Education Director. Yes, ma'am. And you'll see here May 15th on resident retention strategies, fostering long-term resident relationships. Could this be a better transition from Tony? Joelis, welcome.
Well, thank you, Justin. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm sharing the stage with Tony. I mean, what can I say? And I go right after her. My nerves are all over the place, but we're going to make this happen. Okay.
We're sharing the stage with you, honey. Everyone in
Love
chat is sharing the life with you. Come on, we're this
I
one this week.
love
We
it.
all know each other, right?
I love it. I love it. Well, let me tell you that it's really crucial for our on-site teams to know that they play a pivotal role in fostering a sense of community and openness really among residents. So we all know that they can host the regular community events, celebrate holidays and special occasions as a community, and fostering opportunities for interaction and bonding. But let's think a little bit outside of the box. Let's think about our community spaces. Let's
Mhm.
designate and maintain those communal spaces within the property where residents can gather and socialize. We want to encourage the use of those shared amenities like clubhouses, lounge, outdoor spaces for group activities. No longer are the days where our clubhouses, our amenities are closed. COVID is over, folks. We want those doors open. We want people coming in through that door. And our teams should really establish effective communication channels to keep residents informed about community events, updates, important information. How do we do that? Well, we can utilize newsletters. Let's go back to the old school. We have social media groups, or even have a dedicated community app to foster that ongoing communication. And I spoke about going old school. Let's go back and bring back those welcome packages, providing our new residents with welcome packages containing information about your community, local services, upcoming events, and
Mhm.
also include small tokens like restaurant vouchers or community swag to really make them feel valued. It's also having a personalized outreach, implementing that personalized effort like a birthday greeting, welcome notes, anniversary acknowledgments. I think Liz touched upon renewals, and Lisa talked about, well, we are charging our existing residents more than we are those newbies. Well, we can really elevate that experience by ensuring that we know when their birthdays are. We know when to give them a call. We know that we're going to call them for the holidays. We're going to make sure that we drop off balloons, that we do whatever it takes to make our residents feel connected. Also, volunteer opportunities. Organize community service or volunteer events to engage your residents in giving back to your local community. Collaborate with your local apartment associations, with
Mm.
your local charities, or organize initiatives to promote a sense of shared responsibility. And I'm in education, so I think educational workshops are super important. So hosting those educational workshops or seminars on topics that are of interest to your residents. You're wanting to create opportunities for learning and discussion. And when I go into educational workshops, I'm talking about educate them on how to purchase a home. I know we need renters, but imagine how much more value you're going to bring to that resident and the recommendations you're going to get from that resident because you help them achieve the want and the need to own a home. I'm going to recommend
Mhm.
all my friends. You need to live in this community because guess what? They helped me achieve what I have today. And you want to invite those local experts to share insights on topics like financial planning, wellness. I think Tony just spoke about the Heart Smart Apartments. I thought that
Mhm.
was a brilliant idea, and even home improvement. And always establishing easy to use feedback mechanisms for residents to share their opinions, their concerns, their suggestions. I know we don't always like to hear them, but we have to be open to them. We have to demonstrate that responsiveness by addressing that feedback promptly. And I've heard this word a lot today, transparently, right? We want to be transparent. And as we navigate through our multifamily housing industry in 2024, it's evident that a strong sense of community and openness is pivotal. You want to encourage your on site teams to shift their mindset and contribute to building that vibrant and inclusive community where our
Mhm.
residents are feeling loved, valued, connected. And that's all I have for you today. Do you have any questions for
All
me?
you have? I have all the
All I have.
questions.
That's just a
Oh,
snippet.
that's just a snippet. It's like we said, an amuse-bouche, a poo-poo platter of what you're going to get through Webinar Wednesdays. But Jonas, you were so amazing. I want to actually call on something that it was at OpTech, I believe, this year. They were talking about the personalization journey in marketing, and as I've said, the personalization journey starts on that ILS. It starts on that first
Correct.
touch. But you know what's great? What Joel just said. it can't end at the end of the marketing cycle. Once you sign the lease, that doesn't mean personalization ends. It goes into what, yes, ma'am, Joelle has just preached on. Personalization should drive you all the way through the duration of the residency and into retention and beyond.
That's right,
I love
Justin.
that.
And our residents are really seeking comprehensive lifestyle support within the community. And they want to they want to they want to leave, and I work from home. So I'm going to use myself as an example. The less I leave my house, the happier I am. So if I can work, live, and play in my community, I'm going to stay here forever because I feel that it's really giving me beyond work. It's really giving me more. It just becomes more attractive, from high amenities to catering to pets, concierge services. I
Mhm.
mean, the sky's the limit for what we can really do in multifamily.
I love this. Here's the code. Here's the key word I think you two said, and this is a manifestation for us. And then we're going to outro Miss Joella's here. Open your doors. And I think that's what we heard from Tony, from the positivity, from Lisa, from everyone here. Let's emotionally, physically, and literally open our doors. Y'all, you're going to learn more. Joellis is going to be back with us this year, May 15th, Resident Retention Strategies, Fostering Long-Term Resident Relationships. Thank you so much for joining us, Joellis, and you stick around because we have more to come. Now, this next presenter, are we having fun? Are we breathing? Are we opening our doors? Do you hear all the buzzwords we're hearing? Affordability, lifestyle, digital connectivity, bringing value, trust, transparency, and personalization. Y'all, these are so many actionable items that we have the ability to bring into our strategies now. We've seen the market headwards. We understand what's going on, but these words have nothing to do with those. See, these are things that you own. Now, a lot has been talked about the work we need to do to get our teams up and running, but we have Drew Hudson next, who's going to talk about retaining these folks. Drew, go ahead and come on. We have Drew from American Landmark Apartments. He's the training and development specialist. You're going to see Drew on June 5th into What Happened to My Leasing Team. Drew, welcome to the program. How are you today? Oh, I think you might be on mute.
Sorry about that. How are you doing today, Justin?
I am so energized, if not overwhelmed with stuff to talk about with you. But we have, I think that this section might be one of my most fabulous favorites, is because this is about our people, right? We have all these skills for them to have, but we need to maintain these relationships. You know what, Drew? I'm gonna ask you an off-the-cuff question here. This is my favorite question to ask at events. In 30 seconds, how did you find multifamily? How did you get involved?
It worked with my schedule. And so I was looking for something where I would be available mostly on Sundays and a little bit of Saturday. I came from the funeral home industry. I was 20 years old and I walked in and they were like, how does the funeral home match up with this? And I was like, you try selling funerals to someone that's grieving, and I can sell that apartment. So I researched everything about the apartment, went into there, Daytona Beach, Florida, it was the Harbor Apartments. You can still see reviews from me. But yeah, I went in there and I just sold it. I knew the square footage of the apartments before I started. Yeah. I knew the names of the floor plans from the website. So I was like, listen, I can sell your apartments. And it's been 11 years and I think I'm still selling it. Even though I'm training, I'm selling it too.
We are always selling, but that's what we're talking about. This is the multifamily industry, y'all. This is a place where you watching right now and your friends have a career at hand. If they want to jump to supplier or vendor, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to get off topic here, but Drew is a testament to that, y'all. And Drew, I want to talk about this big question we have in your upcoming webinar. What happened to my leasing team? Where's the cream filling? We want to discuss rekindling this passion for leasing fire, like the name of like a cool rock band, Passion Leasing Fire. We talk about taking easy steps here, one step. So what's an easy first step for a property manager can make today to shift their team's perspective from unmotivated to passionate?
Yeah, I think, Justin, I'm going to have to do this webinar standing up because I already feel the fire. But so the first, I want to call it, what the heck happened to my leasing team? Like, what the heck? And I want to challenge everyone that's listening to me today. Like, when you get off this call, look in the mirror. So that's what this session is going to be about. What can I do? Instead of saying what happened to my leasing team, Did I have something to do with what happened? Why they're not leasing as much or why that fire went down? But the first step that a property manager can do today, right, when you get off the call is simple. And I know you thought you were going to get this huge answer, but you sit down and you talk with your team and you find out what it is that makes your team excited. What makes your team? The worst thing you can do is continue to reward your team with pizza parties and they don't like pizza. All right. That's the worst thing you can do. Or give gift cards or say, hey, you're doing, find out what, and there's so many tests out there. There's the True Colors test. There's a love language test. What is your team's love language, right? I tell all of my managers, the gift cards are good. I love those. But if you just put my name in an email with the right people, words of affirmation, that'll take me far. And it's part of the reason why I am here today. So that was the thing that I love. So the easy step that you can do is find out what it is that your team love, what excites them. Is it getting together? Is it an outside event? Some people don't like outside events. They rather be home with their family. And that's okay if they're an awesome leasing professional, okay? So that's the first step. What I want you to do when you get off the call is find out what your team, what do they love? What do they like? And spend more time with your team outside of the leasing industry. So many people said so many great things. One of the things I want to echo what Brian said is, we don't know, right? We don't know what's going to happen all of 2024. We have our predictions and we have all of those things. But what I want our teams to, and I want to talk to the support teams also, our corporate staff or our support teams. I remember back in 2023, we talked about back to basics, right? That was the big push. We got to get back to, and I remember when we entered 2023, we didn't really know, we were kind of where we are right now. And then all of a sudden, everybody started pulling up back to basics, back to basics. And we even at my company, we started the push, but I wanted to be sure that as we were telling the teams, you need to get back to the basics, that we were all also providing those tools for them to go back to the basics, and not back to the basics in our way, but back to the basics in a new way. And so what I think, in order to encourage our teams, we have to listen. We want to talk about seat at the table. How in the world are we making decisions about leasing teams? And I don't care if, you've been, I went back on site for a week, so I know what the leasing teams are going through. Not at all. Not at all. If you want to talk about seats at the table and you're making these big decisions for people that are actually going to have to live out those decisions and work, why not bring somebody to the table? Bring that seasoned leasing professional or that assistant manager or that service technician to the table as you're making these decisions so that you can have the insights. And it's not enough to just get the insights, but actually use the insights that you are getting. Our people want to know that we are listening. All right. Well, we're not just hearing them, but we are listening to them. And a great way to show our people that we're listening is to actually listen to them and start bringing some things to pass that they're looking for. Start showing them that, hey, we care and we may not can do this, but this is what we're going to do to push you forward. So I think when we talk about support and as we're going to push our leasing, get ready. All right. I don't think we have time, and I'm going to lean a little bit on the learning and development because that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. We really don't have time for the 3-month prep of classes now, those live classes or those virtual classes. Sometimes there's needs that are coming our way that we gotta get this. We gotta put our foot to the metal, get some content out there. Where are my content creators, right? You can use ChatGPT a little bit, but where are my content creators that are saying, listen, this is a need. The people need it right now. Let's go ahead and create things. Let's create something, get it out there. It may not be perfect. We'll tweak it on the way, but let's get something to our teams to encourage them, right? I think Tony and Lisa was talking about this. There are some team members that says, Drew, I can't even afford to live here. Drew, I can't even, how do you want me to lease this apartment, all right? So you have to be willing to say, here are the steps. Here's what you're going to do. I'm going to fly out there. I'm going to jump on a webinar call, and I'm going to present that to you. And we're going to get through this. Whatever 2024 brings us, we're going to get through this. So what happened to my leasing team? Maybe it could be something that I'm not doing. Maybe it's something that I can prepare. Maybe it's something that I can sit down and say, hey, what's going on? Why are you not leasing, or why are you not performing, or what can I do to help you better perform? So yeah, I'm excited about that.
I'm excited. I'm excited about all of this. And it's so funny. You're talking about the lifestyle of working in multifamily while we're over here talking about the lifestyle of being a renter. They almost sound like they reflect each other. So isn't it amazing? Culture starts at the core of the company. It starts on your core team. Community is in some of our titles, y'all.
Yep.
Culture starts at the core of the community. If we treat and listen to our people, if we listen to them, if we give them a personalized experience as an employee, imagine what's going to happen out. Y'all,
because just really quick, because and people try to take it out of we can't take that passion and feeling out of leasing. I will stand flat-footed and say that it is because of the passion and the fit. And I know that skill is important. I have some skill is important, but the passion and the fire, that is what get those leases coming in. It's the energy, the synergy, everything that they feel when they come into that office. Happy people lease to happy people. They get people happy. They get excited. And even when people are not that happy, if you just, it's infectious almost. And so that's what that session is going to encourage by. Thank you.
I love this guy. Y'all, let's hear it for Drew Hudson. Go into chat, spread some love. Thank you, Drew, for joining us on this program. Next, we're going to have Christy Ficker to bring us through. And Drew said the magic word. He mentioned ChatGPT, AI. I'm shocked no one else has said it this entire journey, but we have the person to talk about it. Christy Ficker, she is the Vice President of Enterprise Growth at RealLink. Also, we all know her and love her. Her webinars are amazing. She's a personal friend, and you'll see her January 17th, aka next week, on Unleashing the Power of AI. Easy to implement use cases for multifamily marketers and on-site teams. Holy crud, Lisa, that's a big topic, right?
That's a huge topic. I mean, and I see some saying we should throw ChatGPT out the window, but I'm of a different mindset. So I think that we can use it to scale leasing operations and to attack all of these other things that we've talked about today. For example, personalization has come up. That's how we personalize at scale. We need technology to help us do that.
Oh, you and I are both techie people, right? We're here on the vendor side, but we know how leasing works. And what I love about technology is it alleviates little things that allow me to be better at my job, right? Right, Christine?
Yes. Here's a great example. So when I'm writing an email, I'm a marketing person and I tend to be really lengthy with words. I like to use a lot of descriptive words and my emails get to be a little long, but you can use AI and something like ChatGPT to take your messaging and just finesse it. Do I want to have a more professional sounding message? Do I want to sound more concise? Do I want to sound a little more relaxed? It would literally take me probably 20 or 30 minutes to rework an email like that. Like that's just, it's just a time suck in the day. And quite honestly, that's not what I need to be spending my time on, yet I need to get the right messages to the right people. And that's exactly what it does with prospects as well in that leasing process.
It's 1,000%. And I think it transitions to this question I actually have for you too. It's when we hear AI in this industry, when any of us hear AI in any industry, I think there's a little bit of like trepidation, fear, you know, why can't this AI go clean out the ocean? Why do they have to be screenwriters and leasing professionals, right? But with the onset of AI, how can we use this technology to streamline this process we're in while also allowing potential residents to like feel stories like you talk about, have that human connection? Where's the disconnect and where does it unify?
Well, I mean, and here's where AI helps me too. So I think the quote that you're talking about was, I talk about numbers and people hear numbers and they hear data when you're doing that, but they want to feel, and when you tell a story, they feel a story. And I think from the leasing perspective, your numbers that you're talking about in leasing, that is the size of your apartments. This apartment is 1,200 square feet and it's your pricing and it's this. Our lease terms are 12 months. It's all of that. Those are numbers and data. And you're just telling your prospects that, and they hear that, but they don't feel that. So the way that you can tell stories is with AI, with technology. Like how could I come on here and not talk about video because I'm such a huge proponent for that? But that is a way to, again, personalize and save time. So a really good example of that. And some of you maybe have heard me say this before, but I will keep saying it because it is the easiest thing to possibly do is create GIFs or GIFs, however you want to say it. I'm not getting into that debate today, but create a GIF or a GIF of yourself just doing something. So, you know, one that I have in my arsenal that it lives on my desktop is just me at my desk and I'm just waving and you just make this motion for 5 to 7 seconds, and then you can plug that into any online Jiffy creator like jiffy.com or any of those, and it's free, but it creates this GIF for you. And so now that's there, and I actually insert that into my emails that I send out. And then I have another one where I'm giving like a virtual high five and just basically doing the motion of this. And so I send this to people and they feel like I just made this specifically for them. And
That's
they're
brilliant.
not getting something else like that in their email. So if if someone signs their rental agreement or they send in their deposit in their application, like maybe that's what you're sending back to them. Like, I'm so excited. I'm glad you're doing this. I can't wait for you to move in, kind of thing. They're not getting that from anyone else that they're talking to. And yet it's so easy. So I created it one time, but now I use it over and over and over again to personalize that experience with technology. The other thing that you can do too, and I do this a lot, I hear from people who are afraid to get on video, or maybe they don't know what to say. They're afraid they'll fumble over their words. ChatGPT, and I'll talk about this in my session, is great for writing out scripts for you. So if you just plug in that you want to create a video talking about your 1-bedroom apartment, there are some prompts that you can put in there, and it's going to tell you, one, what to shoot, but also what to say. So you don't have to come up with that on your own. And again, once you create that content or that video, now you just use it over and over again. You're not reshooting that for every single prospect, right?
It's creativity at scale. And it's taking brain power. Like, trust Christy, like emails terrify me. I get analysis paralysis. So many of us do. How to say what and when. What are the right words? What Christy just described is she's created this personalized experience. And the other cool thing you hit on too is somebody else isn't doing it. So if we go back to the competitive nature of our industry right now, if we go into making the most out of these renters and getting them into tour or to lease, that little hand wave that you did once and that you scaled, that Christy told you to do, I literally believe this could be the differentiator between someone signing a lease at your community or not.
That is what they're looking for. So think about the prospects. I think about people who tell me all of the time, we don't need video, or we don't need to take virtual tours because our leasing offices are open. 1/3 of renters last year rented their apartment without physically touring it, without seeing it. Those numbers are from NMHC. Those are not my numbers. That's not my data, but that is all of 2023, 1/3 of your renters. So if you're not offering an option like that, if you're not willing to put your face out there and let people meet you before they come in, you're missing out, because the competitor who does that, they're going to win that traffic and they're going to convert that lease. And I don't know I'm sure you have a set of data like this too, but the Zillow survey said that on average, people are only renting, or they're actually only touring 2 apartments on average these days before they make their rental decision.
I would believe it.
So we have back when I was in leasing, they would tour 5 or 7 or 10 communities. It was a big process, but now there's so much information available to them online. They already know what they want before they come in. So
I believe it.
We have got to differentiate ourselves. This is not the time to push back on technology or to say, I know, yes, we do have too much technology and it can feel really overwhelming at the property level. But also when we think about AI and just all of the automations and things that are coming out, if you want to stay relevant in the industry, if you want to move up in the industry and have opportunity, if you are specializing, if you are embracing that technology and figuring out how to use it, you are going to be the rock star that continues to do well in this industry.
Wait, no further questions, Your Honor. Like that's whatever you just said. That's it. And it's not a threat. It is a call to action.
Yeah.
Technology to inspire passion, to give our renters the value, the transparency that they need. Liv mentioned it. If you're not offering all the possible ways to tour, you're going to miss out on people who want to tour in different ways. If they message you and you email them back, or if they call you and you email them, that disconnect in utilizing technology will be a disconnect in your pipeline.
Yes.
Christy.
Yes.
I love this. We're running out of time. We're running out of time, Christy.
Next Wednesday, we'll talk about all of it.
Next Wednesday. Well, let me outro this group. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for Christy. Christy, I cannot wait to see you next week. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and just come on screen and outro us because we've actually hit time. If you put questions in the comment box, I promise you that our dear friends have seen this. But let's give a round of applause at your desks to every one of our speakers here who've given their time, who are going to be with you through the Webinar Wednesday series, and also people you should add on LinkedIn right now. email your providers, not just the ones here, any of the technology people you work with, get the data from them, ask them for their forecasts, and then subscribe to Webinar Wednesdays, where you're going to learn how to take the data that we have as your vendors and action them through the training, the techniques that you have on this amazing group of people. I believe in positivity. I believe in bringing the joy and the passion, and I believe in the great work that this industry does to give people a sense of belonging and community. Because you see all these beautiful faces right here? We're all in a community together. There's hugs at these shows. There's emotional hugs coming across the screen right now to everyone here in the comment box who joined us today. Thank you again so much to Multifamily Insiders. Make sure you subscribe. Look out for more thought leadership coming from us. And everyone have an amazing, productive, and fabulous start to 2024. That is the state of the industry. We'll see y'all next year.